The festival's final night display began with a roar as Governor James Blanchard touched off the first fuse, and everyone settled back for the one-hour extravaganza. But just before the finale, a chain reaction of premature explosions rocked the pit area. In these viewer videos, you can see several 8-inch shells explode in their firing tubes or as they lie on the ground. The preliminary investigation is leading authorities to a conclusion that 2 of the 40-man firing crew bumped into each other while carrying shells to their tubes. As workers ran for cover, other shells explode until one worker ran into the pit area and pulled the fuses out of the shells that had dropped on the ground. That apparently stopped the chain reaction. In the noise, cries for help could be heard, and in the darkness, 6 injured workers were found. 4 of them are still hospitalized, as is fireworks chairman Terry Watson. He suffered chest pains while visiting the injured workers late Saturday night. Governor Blanchard and Congressman Bob Traxler left the pit area minutes before the display went out of control. Robert Heff not only teaches the history of the American flag, he has a direct part in making it. Born in Saginaw, Heff went to school in Lancaster, Ohio. He designed the 50-star flag based on a classroom assignment.
And we all had to do a project, and I selected a flag. I've always had an interest in flags and the history of our country, and when we took Alaska and Hawaii, and I thought, gee, we're going to have to incorporate that into the flag. The only thing is, I designed it 2 years before either Alaska or Hawaii become our 49th and 50th states.
But when those 2 new stars were needed, Heff's design stood out from the 109,000 that were submitted to the government. It's because most were drawings. His was an actual flag.
So I got the idea of taking the fabric that has the glue in the back that most people use in mending sheets, and I cut out 100 stars, 50 for either side, took a hot iron, pressed them on, and that's how I made it. But this very flag has flown about 2.5 million miles. It's flown over all 50 state capitol buildings, 113 American embassies around the world, and virtually every place I go. I've been on the Tonight Show and went to Vietnam with Bob Hope, and that's been with me all the time. And I make about 300 to 350 speeches a year. A lot of them are like 10 schools in a day in a big city or something like that. But I always take the flag with me and display it.
Those cutout stars only cost Bob $2.87, but this flag is now insured for $500,000 with Lloyd's of London.
Well, I've always said, you know, when we talk about the flag, we're talking about a piece of fabric. And I try to make it a little bit more meaningful than just a piece of cloth. The fabric of a nation, what's gone into it to make it the symbol of a great country. And you know, like when our songs that they use in the military, they follow the flag into battle. I think everybody realized they didn't follow a flag into battle. They followed into battle what that flag represents and what it stands for.
Robert Heft wants you to remember that this 4th of July weekend. I'm Eric Jylha with the News 5 Archives. When 18-year-old George St. Mary lost his wallet one night in 1936, he never expected to see it again. But 54 years later, George has his wallet and his memories back.
He said he'd found a wallet that had been lost back in the 30s, you know, and I said, yeah, I remember losing one, but I never knew where I lost it, you know, so.
Yes, everybody loses a wallet at some point, but to get it back.
To get it back is after 50-some years, you know.
George says he didn't carry a lot of money then, but he did carry his driver's license, a hunting permit, Social Security card, and nearly 20 pictures of his classmates at Saginaw High.
This is the way your school pictures used to come out, like this.
Oh, okay.
When you had pictures taken.
George lost his wallet at the Temple Theater when it apparently fell through a floor vent into a crawl space under the balcony. It lay there 5 decades until workers installing electronic equipment found it Wednesday evening.
We just happened to stumble across it, and there it was, you know, and first thing we checked for was to see if there was any identification in it, and there was, you know, several cards and pictures, and I think there was a hunting license in it and whatnot, but no money.
Today it's a regular crosswalk in downtown Flint, but tomorrow more than 14,000 of the best runners in Michigan will use it as their starting line.
Of the 9 races that make up the Crim Festival, the 10-mile is the biggest, drawing runners from 48 states and 11 countries. They'll compete for $42,000 in prize money tomorrow. Then Speaker of the House Bobby Crim started the race 27 years ago. At age 77, he's back to run it again.
I don't think anybody could foresee how the whole community reached out and embraced this race. And it's just grown beyond anybody's imagination. When we started it, I remember we had about 700 and some runners that first year. And now in the 10-mile alone, we have more than 7,000, and probably in all the festival of races and walks, 15 to 20,000 probably now.
And over those 27 years, the event has helped Special Olympics.
It's really impressive to see our athletes' growth like that. I've been involved for 27 years, and some of the things the athletes are doing now are amazing to me compared to what they were doing 27 years ago.
Sky's the limit for them.
It's sky's the limit, that's right, exactly the words.
That's what the race was started for, and to me it's still the biggest race, is the Special Olympic kids.
Last year here at the start line for the elite runners in the 10K race, it took more than 6 minutes for all the competitors to get across the start line. They'll finish 3 blocks up the street tomorrow morning. In Flint, I'm Eric Jylha, TV5.
40 feet up in this maple tree, an 11-month-old cat is about to start its 4th day out on a limb. Unable to get her stuck cat down, owner Ava Alvarado tried the Humane Society. They referred her to a local tree service. She also tried the fire department and Consumers Power Company, and they couldn't help. So Ava called News 5, and we aired her and the cat's story last night. This morning, John Ferguson and Tim Hales, employees of Cox Cable, came to the rescue.
Oh, you like that tree, kitty? Oh, we were talking about it, and we've seen it on the news on channel at 11 on Channel 5. We were driving up and down the street trying to find him. Those black cats are just hard to find in the trees and everything.
This is a real easy one. Usually they'll run up higher in the tree, or sometimes they just claw you or scratch you. They're scared. Or you can calm them down, and they're pretty friendly after that. They're usually glad to see you.
Using their bucket truck, it only took a couple minutes for John and Tim to get the cat back to earth and back in the arms of its grateful owner.
Today would have been the 4th day without anything. It's his first time outdoors. He's never been outdoors at all. He's been an indoor cat, never outdoors.
Rescuing pets is nothing new for John and Tim. They've gotten several cats from trees, and this last year, they saved a large green parrot. Eric Jylha, News 5, Saginaw.
It's going to be very sad, and the emotions from the people have been hard to absorb.
It's a bittersweet day at the anchor store of the W.R. Knepp chain. It's closing its doors for good this spring after doing business in Bay City's downtown for 74 years.
It's just sad.
24 longtime employees like Darlene Coleman got the bad news this week.
Coming in here as a little girl with my mother, and then I've worked here for 13 years.
You'll miss it?
I'll miss the people and the place, yes, very much.
For 30 years, store manager Bob Cole has watched the sales floor get less busy because of competition from the malls.
In the downtown, you really need to be a specialty store or a destination store. With 4 floors, the expenses to run it are almost prohibitive.
In its heyday, Knepp's had 120 employees on 4 selling floors, and there were other stores in Owasso, Lansing, Midland, and Saginaw. W.R. Knepp is the last of the Knepp family to run the department chain.
What have the malls done to you in your business over the years?
Well, they've taken all our help away from us. Like Wendland's was across the street, the Bay City Cash, Kresge, Sears, Penny's, everybody was downtown.
Not that many years ago, Knepp's would sell 200 ladies' hats a day. That's probably why these old hat boxes are a hot selling memento today. I'm Eric Jylha, News 5 in downtown Bay City.